Welcome to the Fantasy Football Hub YouTube channel. Today I'm joined by Holly to have a look at Fantasy Football Hub's AI team and see how it got on in Game Week 2 before looking ahead to Game Week 3, seeing how the team is looking, how many points it's predicted to get, who's going to be the captain and who it's recommending to transfer in potentially. Don't worry, we've seen the comments. You guys want to know how the AI team is doing. And I promise you, we're going to do this every single week. You know, rain or shine, no matter how well the team does, you guys will know if you saw episode 1 that it had an unbelievably good start. What was it, 91 points in the end in Game Week 1, Holly? Something ridiculous. Yeah. But this week, it's not been quite as good, but it's still doing very well.
Yeah, so we knew that Game Week 1 performance, it was going to be difficult to live up to that in Game Week 2 because the strategy in the play was Salah over Haaland. So obviously the hat-trick from Haaland was worst possible scenario for the AI team. But there were plenty of positives to take from it still. We had a solid week defensively. We're also avoiding a lot of the problems that I'm seeing across a lot of FPL managers' teams within the community right now, the likes of Nkunku and Solanke. So maybe there's a bit more to say about the AI despite its score in Game Week 2.
Yeah, absolutely. And interestingly enough, I have one more point than it, and you have one fewer point than it. So we're like completely neck and neck, us three, like me, you, and the AI. Which kind of shows, I guess, at this early stage how volatile the ranks are. We all know this already, but yeah, I think that's a good point that you make. No Haaland, and still did completely fine over the first 2 game weeks. Yes, would have liked to do better than a big red arrow, but you know, guys, let me know in the comments down below. How are you doing after 2 game weeks? I think that our ranks, I'm pretty happy with my rank. I don't know about you, Holly. I think it's decent. So yeah, 1.4 mil after a couple of weeks, absolutely fine. And yeah, as you say, the team is looking pretty strong going forward. Obviously missed that hat trick from Haaland, but now that fixture's gone, I don't know. Do you think that personally it's going to continue to go without Haaland?
Yeah, I think obviously at the point where we decide to trigger the wild card, it could be very different. Or if we reach a point where there's a lot of transfers accumulated, but the AI was pretty firm right from the game launching that using those Haaland funds elsewhere and spreading it around would be optimal over going for Haaland. So that's worth bearing in mind. But it's not like we haven't got any City players in the side. And, you know, we've still got, you know, great players that are predicted to score very well over the next few weeks in all of the key positions.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's have a look at the team then. As you can see, guys, at the top, it's still got an unbelievably good team rating. 98%, and yeah, no real issues at all. I mean, the only slight one I can think of is Wout Faz, but he's not really an issue. He's just chatting a bit too much and getting a bit too big for his boots, to be honest, which, fair play, you know? You only have one career. If you want to say that you want to move, fair enough, go for it. But yeah, even he did well last week, scored a goal. Okay, yeah, what do we think about this team then? I want to immediately come to captaincy, and it's got Salah as captain this week. That's got to be maybe a slight concern not to have maybe Haaland, but I don't know. There are a lot of sort of players that are very, very similar in terms of predicted points for this week in particular. As you guys can see on the right, Salah's there 6.9, Haaland 7.3, Palmer at 7, and then Saka and Isak, who are in the team, very, very close behind. What do you reckon? We're going to have to go with Salah because that is what Salah is saying.
Yeah, exactly. Whatever the AI says is what we'll go with. Come 4 o'clock on Friday, I'll be locking in the team. But yeah, it's interesting to note there on Salah that he does have a decent record against Manchester United. I'm sure Manchester United fans don't need reminding of that. So I think, you know, it's a fixture where Salah could, you know, do very well in, and he started the season really well. So I can't see that ending anytime soon. And Liverpool in general look like a very good team under Arne Slot, whereas Manchester United have struggled to start the season. So I think the momentum's there with Liverpool. There were times last season where I was, you know, following through these AI decisions and putting the captaincy on a player and not feeling great about it. And it delivered. So yeah, having, you know, you used the AI predictions for a good 12 to 18 months now, quite consistently, I've got a bit more faith in the AI than maybe I have had in the past. I know there's a lot of people that are maybe a bit skeptical of these AI decisions in the comments, and that's absolutely fine. But this is here to show you that over the course of the season, you know, the majority of the time it's landing the right way on these 50-50 calls to get those higher echelons in the ranks.
Absolutely. I say bring on the skepticism. I'm also a skeptic, but I'm being turned just like you. That's what I like about this. It's a sort of a different way of playing the game. You can either just completely ignore it if you like, or you can use it to your advantage, I think. Algorithms are only getting stronger. The AI is only getting stronger. As we saw last year, once again, it came top 70k. So beating 99% of managers, I think it's probably going to do so again. We'll have to wait and see. But yeah, we're very confident in its ability. Okay, let's have a look actually before we move on to talk about all players in general, because we're going to go through the top 10, the top players, top options from every position in just a second over the next few game weeks. I want to see what the AI team is thinking for itself in terms of potential transfers this week. Now, interestingly, this season, obviously, you can roll up to 5 free transfers. So I want to see if it's recommending itself to do that or to be a bit more aggressive. So let's jump in to the AI recommendations right now. And guys, obviously, you can do this with your own team as well. You can also get your team rated for free, as you can see at the top of the screen. See if you can beat the AI's 98% team rating and predicted points this week of 67.3. Very, very strong, but let's have a look at the recommendations. Okay, so here we go. And importantly, we didn't use a transfer last week, Holly. So 1 free already carried on. And the recommendation here is again to bank. Wow.
Yeah, and there's been some upgrades going on behind the scenes to the AI transfers because we can roll those transfers over. So for all managers, this is probably the first opportunity to be able to roll 2 free transfers. And because this team was close to optimal at the start of the season, because we went with the AI team, it should come as no surprise to see that we are able to roll the second free transfer this week so that we've got 3 free transfers for next week. And I've even lifted the hood and gone a bit further. And the recommendation, providing we don't run into any issues, will be to roll again next week. So
wow.
It's going to, obviously, the more free transfers we get to build up, the more flexibility we have in the squad to make changes.
Yeah,
it's really interesting to see that we've managed to avoid all of those early issues. I haven't seen that many managers in a position to roll 2 free transfers for 3 free transfers in game week 3. It was something that we liked the look of at the start of the season, and we all had ambitions to, pick this perfect squad for the start of the season that we could start to build up the transfer straight away, because it's the new thing in FPL and it's exciting. But I don't know what your team is like, Jack, but I already took a hit to game week 2.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know it's probably not the most exciting conclusion, but it's exciting for me to think that we're already in a position where we're storing up these transfers, and down the line we're going to be able to do all sorts with that flexibility of having them banked early doors.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm not in a position. Well, I almost definitely won't be in a position next week to roll. I mean, I don't know. It's kind of fortune and it's planning. I feel like even with the AI team, yes, it was well set up, but anything could have happened to any individual player. However, it's probably more likely with the AI team just going based on playing completely optimally that would happen. So it's put itself in a position to not be blighted. With my team, yeah, I rolled last week. I'm going to roll again this week. So yeah, in a good spot. But there's no way I'm going to roll next week. I don't have Salah, and I think he has to come in for me next week. Whereas obviously this team has Salah. And now that it's got through the easiest Haaland game, I expect that it won't go Haaland until probably Wildcard. I mean, who knows? Maybe game week 6, but even then, it might not. Whereas I'm thinking I need to get onto Salah for game week 4 and 5. But yeah, I mean, looks super strong. Interestingly, the alternative option here is one that I probably wouldn't agree with, but it's one that, well, Robertson, the AI has been so hot on Robertson since the game launched. I said this in a video earlier this week. And I only feel like now, this week, other sort of, well, like the community, the FPL community in general is sort of, coming to a similar sort of thinking of just really seeing how good Robertson is as an option. Obviously, in years gone by, he's been great, but at the start of the season, nobody was really talking about him. He's not really been in anyone's teams. But just explain why he has done so well on the underlying metrics, and now why he's being potentially recommended to come in for Trent and make a little saving there.
Yeah, well, he's always felt cheap for this season. We've seen the Liverpool fullbacks just go up and up in price, and they've had that reduction for this season. We've seen some good defensive performances from Liverpool already, and maybe a little bit different a role for Robertson this season, where he's given more license to go forward. He's sharing those corners with Trent Alexander-Arnold as well. I think in terms of the underlying expected goals metric, he is actually ahead of Trent, so that's
Wow.
helping him here. That's just swung things in his favour because he had a big chance in game week 2 at home to Brentford. That's just edged him ahead of Trent. Whereas when we spoke last week, it was Trent just ahead. But obviously, when you bear in mind that 1 million saving and what it could allow you to do in the rest of the squad, I think as the weeks progress, we're going to see a lot of swings of defensive moves from the AI team rather than attacking moves.
Okay.
I know we kind of, on a human level, we look into the fixtures, don't we? And we think these are the fixture swings for these teams. So I'm going to swap all my attackers around to get those in. Whereas the AI, I think, has kind of a better base understanding of the attacking output of players, but sees defenders as you can flip flop 6-2,
Oh, wow.
6-2, and may maximize for that over the season.
That is interesting, but maybe a similar thing with goalkeepers as well. I mean, we're going to get to the top goalkeepers recommended bit by AI in just a second, but it's a position where I really struggle every season, and I feel like it's like maybe a misconception where people or managers say, it's not worth spending a transfer on a goalkeeper. So I'll be interested if at any point this season, which I'm sure it will, the AI recommends, switching a goalkeeper, and it's just kind of off the cuff and seemingly out of the blue, but actually it makes sense, because that's a position that I've struggled with a lot. Now, in terms of this transfer, I wouldn't do it myself. I think the main takeaway though is just to show that Robertson really is a great option this season. I think to be fair, I'd rather have both than lose Trent. I think he's been quite unlucky. But yeah, as you can see by those predicted points, very, very similar for Robertson and Trent over the next 5 game weeks. Okay, so that is the AI recommendation. If you would like your own, as I said, sign up to Fantasy Football Hub down below. If you're not sure what to do with your game week 3 transfers, whatever, or you just want a second opinion, it's still 50% off at the time of recording. So go ahead and sign up. Okay, now let's jump into the best players for the next few game weeks. Okay, Holly, let's start off with the goalkeepers and just explain to the viewers, if they've not seen an episode in this series before, what they're looking at right here.
Yeah, so we're looking at the top predicted players by position, by their points prediction over the next 5 game weeks, because that is kind of the time frame weighted from start to end that the AI transfers are based on. So interestingly, we've still got David Raya at the top of the charts, and I've seen him in a lot of wildcard teams this week. I think it's the goalkeeper position a lot of managers are most unsure of, and it feels more difficult this season with the rule changes to first decide on the threshold for when to wildcard and also when to make a goalkeeper transfer, because in the past it used to be, well, change your goalkeeper on a wildcard or change when you've got 2 free transfers and no other issues in the squad. And obviously Pickford feels like the weak link looking at the surface level of our AI team, but he's still well up there in terms of point predictions on 18.9 predicted points. You look at Martinez at the same price point, who's only predicted to score 1.3 points. And, the AI transfers are really looking for, that difference of 4, the cost of a transfer to make that move optimal. Muric in there, first time into the top 10, having made himself available in game week 2, 18.6 predicted points. He's had a price drop as well to 4.4 million. So that's something to monitor. Of course, Ipswich, they've played Liverpool and Man City. So we've not really had time to, gauge the quality of their defence. We don't know whether they're whipping boys or not yet. It could just be that they've been unfortunate with the fixtures, so I'm going to be keeping a close eye on that one.
That's true, and the fixtures do turn now for Ipswich. Obviously, it's only Ipswich, and as you say, we have to wait and see how they perform against lesser teams. But no doubt the fixtures are good. The thing that interests me here as a Henderson owner is just looking at the number of 4.5 million and below keepers in this list, and not seeing Henderson there. It's a concern, is what I will say. But there are quite a few options, and Flecken is doing pretty well there, which is a bit annoying because it was kind of between him and Henderson for me, and a lot of managers, to be fair, at the start of the season. But yeah, is Henderson even close to this?
I can have a look for you.
Yeah, well, he's probably have to scroll a long way down. He's just been such a letdown this season, and yeah, even
Yeah.
Sanchez, who I've said on videos I don't rate as a goalkeeper, but yeah, Chelsea defensively might be okay. I'm not sure about that. The Bruggen is one that I really like. If he does nail down that spot, because obviously he missed the start of the season, but played full 90 in the cup and looked good apparently. Not that I watched it, but yeah, he should be back very soon. I think probably this week.
Yeah, so Henderson is 16th place on 16.9
Oh,
predicted
great.
points. So there's only Onana, Vicario, and Jose Sarr who are behind him
Oh
in
my
terms of
gosh.
the predictions at the moment. Crystal Palace's fixtures do turn though after game week 3, don't they? So maybe he can play his way into form. Could be some more activity in the window to boost that Palace defence before
Yeah.
the game week 3 deadline. Who knows?
I mean, they do turn, but this does take into account the fixtures. And, if Muric is up there after that start against Liverpool and City, where they conceded a lot of goals, and I don't know. It's not looking good for Henderson. But yeah, the other 4.5 million goalkeepers there on screen are interesting to me. Okay, let's move on to the defence now. Wow. Robertson up top. There we go.
Yeah, and yeah, we've seen this difference now, haven't we? That Robertson's now ahead of Trent by zero point 0.6 points over the next 5 game weeks. That's not a huge amount, and things may change. I think because it's the attacking returns that make the Liverpool defenders so attractive, and it only takes one moment of brilliance to turn things on its head between these two. I think for most of us, though, the play will be to potentially double up on the Liverpool fullbacks, particularly once we get to game week 4. We still see plenty of cover for Arsenal in the top 10, taking up 3rd, 4th, and 6th spot. A little bit more rotation maybe expected at left back. I think that's the only reason why we're not seeing 4 Arsenal defenders in this top 10.
Yeah.
Tricky fixtures for Arsenal, but they've proven to us over the first couple of game weeks that they can keep clean sheets even when they don't deserve to keep those clean sheets. Obviously, the defenders are more expensive than David Raya. Vardiol slipping a little bit down to 5th place now. Whether Lewis continues or not is key for Vardiol owners. Obviously, the AI team has him in as well. It's very difficult, though, with the Champions League fixtures coming the midweek after the international break. So between game week 4 and game week 5, will we start to see Walker coming in to the City 11, which will mean that Vardiol on the left flank will be more advanced? That's the key there, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, he's one that's obviously slipped a little bit. It's interesting. I don't remember. You probably remember the start of the season. Was it both the Liverpool defenders as high as this? I can't believe they were 1 and 2. Maybe Trent was number 1, but I don't think Robertson was as high. And there's actually it's not a lot, but a decent amount of separation, a point between Liverpool defenders and Arsenal defenders is actually, I think it's a decent amount now, because we're not talking about an Arsenal defender that has no attacking threat in Gabriel. He was one of the best defenders last season for attacking contributions. So it's not as if it's a fullback versus a centre back, and that's why Robertson is just doing so much better. And yeah, I think that it looks to me, obviously they've had 2 relatively easy fixtures start the season, but defensively they do look a lot more solid. And clean sheets are the backbone of points for defenders, even if they are super attacking. So yeah, Liverpool defenders just flying. You're going to go for the double up then, do you reckon?
Potentially. I think it's a lot easier for managers to maybe have an Arsenal defender compared to maybe if you're on Vardiol, and obviously the Walker Lewis situation there as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, you look at those 6 million defenders, and if you've not got a Robertson in your team, then the argument is there to switch in the next week or 2. In terms of the budget picks, this is an interesting one as well, because it was Matty Cash leading the way. He's obviously going to miss the next month now through injury, but the AI still loving the Aston Villa defenders of these 4.5 million options. And it's Pau Torres on 18 predicted points, who just makes his way into the top 10. We've also got Luke Dean, Konza, who's probably more of the go-to within the community, 3rd on the list of Villa defenders. So it'd be interesting to see how that pans out in terms of minutes and in terms of returns over the next few weeks, because the fixtures are there now for Villa.
Yeah, I suppose Powell has slightly higher goal threat. That must be it. Or maybe slightly more secure for minutes as well. But I do expect Konza to stay in the team at centre back as well. Nedeljkovic might be someone that people are looking at, but do you think it's a little bit too soon for it, or is it just a bit too risky? Obviously, the 4 million Aston Villa right back now that could come into the team. We don't know. I think he probably will, but with Cash's injury, what do you think about that one? What does the AI think about that one, importantly?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of those assets priced at under 4.5 million, there's not a great deal of choice at the moment. I think the fact that the transfer window shuts before the game week 3 deadline gives us a little bit of time to assess whether anyone comes in that position for Villa. He's on 10.1 predicted points, but there are others at a similar price point that are predicted a lot higher because of the minutes. So you've got
Sure.
your Ipswich defenders. I think Greaves is up there as one of the top picks at the moment on 14.9 predicted points. You've still got Wout Faes in there. You've still got the Southampton centre-backs as well. So it's one to monitor, but you could, if you are interested, you could make a call once the window's shut, but before the Saturday morning deadline, or give it another week to monitor, just get that little bit more information.
Yeah. And just a couple of other picks that are doing pretty well in terms of potential transfers in this week. I'm thinking of Robinson. He's not on the list. Just is he close at all? Anthony Robinson from Fulham.
So he's on 15 predicted points. So he's
Okay.
some way off your Villa defenders.
Yeah.
I mean, for my team, I'm currently a Robinson owner, and my AI prediction for this week is to make the recommended transfer up to Robertson because I have got some money in the bank. So yeah, the AI isn't that hot on Robinson.
Okay. And then last one, Pedro Porro. How's he doing? Because he's had a lot of transfers in this week, but again, not on this list, and he's 5.5 million. That means that there are a good number of players on this list that are the same price as him or cheaper, that are doing better according to predicted points.
Yeah, and Porro comes in at 17.7 predicted points. That's actually less than his teammate Romero on 17.8 predicted points. We saw him rise overnight. I think he had 3 shots and 2 big chances in the game week 2 fixture against Everton, which has maybe skewed his kind of goal threat prediction, which is going to be a part of the AI prediction.
Yeah.
Whether that's a reflection on Everton's poor defending more than who's the best attacker from the Spurs defense, that's something to raise. But yeah, the fixtures aren't really there for Spurs over the next 2, with that trip to Newcastle and then the North London derby as well.
Okay, let's move on to the midfield now. This is where it gets a bit more fun, I think. No real surprise to see Salah at the top. That's completely fine. Makes sense, I guess, with the fixtures he's got coming up and how good he's been as well. Start of this season. Palmer, second, comfortably above Saka now. It's not surprising, but it's one of those where I'm thinking, he's not going to be in my team. I don't really have a path for him. Am I just completely missing out here? Do I need to force him in?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the same boat, but I think when you compare the fixtures for Palmer and Saka, Palmer has the better fixtures. So if you are looking to buy in around this 10 million price point, Palmer looks the one at the moment. But we kind of regard all of the midfielders around this price point as pretty fixture proof. But what I found most interesting is Palmer's bridging the gap to Salah. We've seen on the predictions over the last few weeks that it's been Haaland and Saka out in front, Isak, and then everyone else.
Yeah.
Whereas now Palmer's getting himself in and around Haaland and Salah. And last week we discussed, didn't we, that we didn't really know what Palmer's role was in the Maresca side. Obviously very wide in game week 1 against City. We saw that completely change in game week 2, and he was on his absolute best form. So managers have got a decision to make. And I think ideally you'd have Salah, Palmer and Saka, but to do that and Haaland, that's very difficult and probably requires a wild card and lots of sacrifices elsewhere in the squad.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. I'm going to ask about a few specific players now. And guys, if you want to, I can't ask about every single player here. So if you guys want to know, the exact predicted points for any individual player in the entire game, then go on the website. All that information is there for you. It's worth me just saying that. But Eze is still in 4th place. He has the most transfers out of any midfielder this week. Over 500,000 of you, and you're all watching this video, which is crazy. Thanks for the support. Have transferred him out. But but he's fourth on the list still, even though he's not returned yet.
Exactly. I mean, the AI predictions have been seriously high for Eze basically all preseason and since the season started. He's had 12 shots on goal. He's had a free kick ruled out because of a refereeing error. Like, he is the definition of points dodging so far this season. And we saw in the cup in midweek, to troll his owners even further,
Yeah.
he got a goal and an assist. As we've discussed, the fixtures do turn for Palace after the Chelsea away trip. They've got Leicester, Manchester United, Everton in the next three after that, which looks like quite a tasty three fixtures. So I think patience is key when it comes to Eze.
Yeah, 500,000 transfers out, but surely returns are just around the corner. I'm also not too hot on the Chelsea defense. I feel like we've not looked very good defensively at all in the first two games. Even against Wolves, I mean, they had some big chances. Obviously, scored 2 goals, but could have had more. And yeah, I think the fact that we scored 6 goals in that game is slightly kind of overshadowing the potential leakiness that we have at the back. So could be opportunities for Eze in that game. Obviously, we think he's on penalties as well. Bruno Fernandes is another one that's still in the list again, despite 350,000 transfers out this week. No returns for him either. Obviously, he's been unlucky. I'd say slightly less unlucky than Eze. I mean, it's still close, but yeah, he's had a price drop, but still 9th in this list.
Exactly, and I think penalties is another important factor with both of those players, which has a large proportion towards their AI predictions. And I think Fernandes, again, is a player that looks like he could absolutely come good when you look at his underlying numbers. He hasn't played in a 10 role yet at the start of a game. So that's something that I'm praying to see against Liverpool, because that false 9 role is more of a hindrance than a help. It looks great on paper thinking Fernandes is out of position, but in the 10, making those late runs in and around Xerxes, I think that's really going to help him.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to 3 players now. And as I said, guys, I can't cover everyone, but these are our 3 mid-priced midfielders who are not on this list, but I'm interested to see how high they are. Interestingly, Bailey's at the bottom there, which is a player that not many people are talking about at all. But to get in the top 10, it's just 6.5 million. Pretty impressive. However, Madueke has 700,000 transfers in this week. Smith Rowe has 700,000 transfers in this week. And Rodgers from Villa has over 400,000 transfers in this week. A big debate this week is who to replace Nkunku with. Do the predicted points give a sort of a clear option out of those 3?
Yeah, really clear. I mean, I've scrolled down a bit and I haven't even got to Smith Rowe yet. Madueke's on 22.2 predicted points, so we're way off. I think his minutes and a lack of set piece involvement do kind of hinder him here, because we don't know. He is a bit of an unknown still in terms of minutes. It's Rodgers who's performing best. I think he's around 16th place on 23.9 predicted points. But yeah, he's a little bit of a way behind Bailey. But a lot of FPL managers are looking and thinking, save the 1.4 million, go with a cheaper asset who's playing the same position, opposite flank, same fixtures. And I do get that. Yeah, but yeah, in terms of Smith Rowe, I'm having to scroll a while. I think he's around 30th.
That must be to do with minutes, right? Then just because his fitness is still not right up there, and he's getting dragged. Is that probably the main reason? Or is it the fact that he just had 1 shot last game and he scored?
Yeah, 20.9 predicted points. His underlying numbers aren't great. And you look at the likes of Andreas, who's involved in everything. Everything that Fulham do is going through him at the moment. And, Smith Rowe, I've not really got a gauge of him yet, because it was difficult to compare him to his Arsenal days now in this Fulham side. But I think we are going to see him pop up and provide those moments of brilliance. But when you actually look at the underlying numbers, he's kind of overperforming that, because he just gets those clinical chances and puts them away.
Very interesting. Yeah, because, it's Madueke and Smith Rowe are doing way better in terms of transfers in. They're just way more popular this week. But Rodgers is the one, according to AI, despite the fact that he's not got an attacking return yet. The other 2 obviously do, that is being suggested in, even despite the fact that he's 500,000 cheaper than Smith Rowe and 1.5 or 1.4 cheaper than Rodgers, than Madueke. Very interesting stuff. And that is despite the saving, because no one, if you're just looking at pure predicted points, that's not really taking value into account, is it? That's just That's just predicted points. Simple as that. Okay, let's move on then. Finally, to the forwards. No surprise, Haaland's at the top, miles ahead. But I think maybe the thing with him is just to, as you said, to compare him to Salah and other midfielders rather than other attackers. And you said it's got a little bit closer there.
Yeah, so there's 0.8 of a point between Salah and
Right.
Haaland over the next 5 game weeks. That's why the AI prefers to go with a Salah team because, that zero point 0.8 points v 2.5 million is obviously quite significant. But I mean, I've got Haaland in my team and I wouldn't consider dropping him anytime soon. I feel quite happy with him in my team and I'm
Yeah.
sure you're the same.
Yeah, for sure. I have thought about it, to be honest. Not this game week, but next game week. I'm thinking about it, just whether or not I can get away with not having him for 2 weeks and maybe go for someone like Watkins instead. And that could give me the money to upgrade someone that isn't Saka up to Salah, maybe someone like a Gordon. I'm not sure about that, but I've slightly thought about it and seeing this and seeing the difference that, yeah, it's 2.5 million difference to Salah now. Do you have to have both short term? I don't know. Interestingly, Isak's still doing unbelievably well, still solidly ahead of anyone else, really, despite the fact that he has, 7 points, hasn't looked great, and has a lot of transfers out. He's actually very close to a price drop at the moment.
Yeah, and Isak's the one that basically everyone lumped on him at the start of the season. It seemed to be the perfect storm. He had the form, the fixtures, the right price point. And now I'm looking at him and thinking, I prefer Watkins there right now. But he's got an incredible record against Spurs. He's got a brace in the home game the last two seasons running. So it feels like a one more game. I think, the red card in game week 1 and then a poor performance, but away from home in game week 2. I want to see him dominating in a home game, and I don't feel like we've had that opportunity to see yet. We know that Newcastle United at St James's Park are a completely different beast to away from home. It's the home games that we want him for, really.
Yeah, I think the difference between him and Watkins is quite telling. A lot of people are thinking, get rid of Isak, get onto Watkins if you can, as quickly as you can. But the difference in points is actually still in Isak's favour. Is that again just reckon down to minutes for Watkins, despite the fact that his fixtures are objectively better over the next 5?
Yeah, I think minutes is one issue for Watkins, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because he's not made it to 65 minutes at the moment, and that's something that we need to see change. I think in terms of all the players that had a busy summer, Watkins is perhaps one of the steadiest, probably aside from Foden, of kind of playing those significant minutes that we'd expect because he was a 90-minute man week in, week out last season. Obviously, we haven't even got to the Champions League yet for Villa either. And that's one significant thing that isn't in these AI predictions, but is worth bearing in mind that
Good point.
no Europe for Newcastle.
And then let's round things off with the budget forwards. Quite a few actually knocking about in the top 10. I mean, we don't have loads of great forwards this year, but I feel like it's a very competitive sort of price range. Even now, after a couple of weeks, still not sure who the best sort of player is at that price. And I think that's kind of shown by the fact that a lot of these players are very close. Is there a clear option here, or is it kind of much of a muchness?
Yeah, it's all very similar, isn't it? I replaced Solanke with Muniz last week, and I don't know if I made the right decision. But again, put me in the same boat this week. I don't know if I'd do anything different. I
Yeah.
think João Pedro, obviously the Arsenal game puts us off, and then the fixtures look good after that. But Brighton seem to have a lot of competition for places. They've signed a few players in the window that could play in those forward positions. So that's the risk with João Pedro, but he still feels like a good one to back because he's got the penalties. Wissa hasn't, Muniz hasn't either. So I think that's possibly the deciding factor there. But yeah, minutes, I guess, aren't guaranteed for any of these players. Wissa, Tony, is he going to leave in the window? We're running out of time. Muniz, well, I feel like any more poor performances and he could be dropped. There's plenty of competition there for Fulham. They've got Jimenez coming off from the bench in games. So there isn't a standout, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, interesting stuff. And that is it for the the top 10 players plus in each position. Holly, I don't know about you. I feel like we should give the people that are still watching right now, I think we should give them a little treat. Just because they've watched the whole of this video, I think we should show them we don't normally do this, by the way, so it's really going to be a treat. The best Game Week 3 wildcard team, just very, very briefly. Don't have to talk through it, just get it on screen, just because they've watched the whole of this video. I don't know, is that allowed? Should we do that?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, fine. Twist my arm. Here it is. Interesting stuff. So this is, according to the data, according to the AI, the algorithm, the best Game Week 3 wildcard team. If you are on a wildcard this week, you're seeing this for free. You're lucky. Palmer's captain. I love it. No Trent. Crazy. But, you know, it could be unbelievable. No Haaland as well. Amazing stuff. But yeah, Palmer, Salah and Saka in there. That is very, very strong. And that is, according to the data, the best AI team. Nuts, right?
Yeah, it's very similar structure to the AI team that we're running this season.
Yeah.
Obviously, Palmer, Salah, Saka is affordable if you go no Haaland. You've got that strong defence still, Gabriel, Vardiol, Robertson, that looks pretty appetising. 5 million goalkeeper in there. João Pedro makes the money work, and Bailey in there over Rodgers because we can afford him because we've got cheap forward line.
There we go. That is it for the team, and obviously this will change week on week based on the game week and, you know, form, points, predictions, etc. Everything we've shown. But if you guys want to see this for the week that you're wildcarding, then make sure to sign up to Fantasy Football Hub. Link in the description. You can see at the top there. Best free hit team, best AI wildcard team. There's loads of other stuff available to you. Just click the link, get signed up. If you've watched this much of the video, you really should. Come on, you know it's worth it. Holly, thank you very much for running us through the best players for the upcoming weeks. What do we think for the AI team this week? Another great back on a green arrow, do we think?
Yeah, I think it's in our favour this week for sure.
Okay.
I think we've got the fixtures to do it.
Okay, guys, remember, sign up, link in the description, and we will catch you in a couple of weeks to check out how the AI team did in Game Week 3.